Hey guys, and welcome back to another What If. Today we are doing part 4 to What If Naruto was born as a Neko. And yeah, guys, if you want to know what happened in the last part, then I'll be linking the description down below to a playlist where you can watch part 1, 2, 3, and of course this part and any other future part that gets added to this series. With that out of the way, let's somewhat get into where we roughly left off. So a month would go by when we would have left Naruto, Sakura, and Tenzo. As during that month, Tenzo had pretty much put a main focus into somewhat training in chakra control, as that's what Naruto needed the most, and training in chakra, or more complex, obviously, somewhat chakra exercises would not just obviously increase Naruto, so it somewhat increase Sakura's, but also increase generally her reserves as well. So somewhat two birds with one stone. It increased Sakura's reserves and Naruto's control. So here also, though, during the first week, besides from that, it also managed to somewhat break Sakura out of the majority of her fancalism. Though by the end of the month it was starting to somewhat come back, though of course he did somewhat keep his promise, and he would teach both Sakura and Naruto a jutsu, that being the Senshin. Though another thing he would do was a elemental jutsu test, or no, not an elemental affinity test, as somewhat it would just add it as a note, so maybe like either a month or two from now, or like after, say, like the getting exams, during exams have been and gone, you could then somewhat teach them how to obviously control their elemental affinity, even though you may only have wind and water and earth. There were obviously some other Anbu, and some other Anbu, Jonin, and Anbu and Jonin that can very much help Naruto or Sakura, depending on their affinity. So he'd give obviously both Naruto and Sakura the piece of paper, and he'd tell them what it is, and would show his, so they would know he had would release. And he'd somewhat opened up about his somewhat past during that month as well. More so kind of thanks to kind of how Naruto can somewhat bring like the best out of people. He'd somewhat he could see Tenzo was somewhat slowly changing, becoming a more somewhat like warm person, and wasn't kind of how he was in Anbu. He was anyway, it would, though Sakura would of course go first, and she would have a fire affinity, and after that Naruto would somewhat go next, and not too much to his surprise would somewhat split in two, with somewhat it getting wet, meaning that Naruto had the wind and water affinity. The reason why it's not surprising, as people with a water affinity tend to be more either fluid or more flexible, or generally both, or somewhat a bit more fluid and flexible compared to the average somewhat Genin, Chunin, and generally Genin and Chunin. Jonin and Anbu tend to be quite fluent, even if that's not a like that affinity. And his unpredictability was, while wind was somewhat of an unpredictable force. One day it can be, 1 second it can be somewhat a calm, nice, cool breeze, and the next it can be, a ravaging, somewhat beast destroying, stuff without a caring, without any warning. It could change in a flash, and next thing you know, you've got a tornado where somewhat a centimeter or so behind you. So yeah. Yeah. So though he'd somewhat tell them that, no, it'd somewhat be the last day, and it'd be a couple of hours. He'd tell them that the next day, that he'd asked to somewhat two people he somewhat roughly knew to somewhat train them. Also, one for somewhat Sakura and one for Naruto, as he'd tell them that he would explain more somewhat tomorrow, and to somewhat not writing that he would obviously be that obviously he wasn't leaving them. He'd very much continue to be that sensei. Yeah, though just somewhat nod and allow us like sigh as relief, as they didn't want like a new sensei. They're just obviously not after a month, and that dude's someone nice. He unlike Kakashi, actually somewhat trained them in obviously chakra control, and taught them a jutsu like he promised, and also now they knew their elemental affinities or affinities for Naruto. Next day would roll around, and Naruto was somewhat running a second or so late, though. He'd somewhat got up a bit late. Oops. Though he was somewhat running from rooftop to rooftop, until all of a sudden he'd somewhat stop, and he'd somewhat look, because he could sense somewhat, or at least his feline instincts were telling him to obviously run, get out. Which of course made him somewhat stop and look around for the danger, and he'd somewhat see his eyes would end up locking onto a somewhat white-haired person, as he'd see the person go through a couple of hand signs before biting his thumb and slamming his hand on the ground, and his somewhat feline ears would somewhat twitch and could just barely hear the sounding of summoning jutsu. Though, and Naruto swear that he'd seen a toad or frog or that, though he'd somewhat snap out of his somewhat thoughts, as he'd somewhat look up and curse, as he was running 2 to 3 seconds late now. 5 to 10. So he'd quickly somewhat morph / transform into his feline transformation, his cat form, and would channel chakra all throughout his body. Unlike a human, where you could send chakra just to your legs and improve your speed massively, because a feline cat, the cat family obviously walk on all fours and generally get the most speed from obviously all that body. They use practically all the muscles in their body to run as fast as possible. So yeah. Anyway, after somewhat doing that, Naruto would arrive around about 2 seconds. He was just barely somewhat 2 seconds early. Yeah. Though Sakura and Tensor had somewhat gotten, or at least somewhat to know that if Naruto came in his feline form, his cat form, that he was running late, and if he didn't, he was obviously somewhat just early. He'd either somewhat woken up early, or / on time, or had somewhat slept in, and yeah. Though Tensor would somewhat just shake his head as Naruto would morph back into his human form, and would somewhat ask if he was somewhat late, which Tensor would just simply state no, that he wasn't. Naruto would somewhat sigh, would let out a slight sigh of relief, and though he would somewhat then tell them that somewhat obviously that he mainly did initially it for Sakura, as as he just as sorry, it sneezed. Yeah, it would mainly tell them that obviously that he'd mainly somewhat wanted to look for a person to somewhat transacrise, though, and he'd quickly, continue simply stating that, not really caring if he had, somewhat feeling to, and I was quickly stated mainly because she was somewhat starting to relapse into a fangirlish somewhat state, and which could kill both of them, and as such, he needed someone that would terrify the fangirl straight out of her, would rip it, and pretty much kill it, murder it, whatever, would just get rid of it for somewhat ever, and as such, once he'd found the person, he'd then, he'd then somewhat state that he'd then started looking for someone to obviously train Naruto, as well, as it would have been unfair to only have, someone obviously train Sakura, but, not somewhat train him, as as obviously somewhat Tenjo was only gonna really somewhat train Naruto, and somewhat Chocolate Child with Sakura's away. That's really all that he sort of had planned, so he decided to ask somebody else to help him, which they did agree to, and agreed to somewhat train Naruto and the other person to train Sakura for a month, as Tenzo amused that it would probably take a month to rip Sakura of her fangirlism permanently. And he'd somewhat then tell them that they could reveal themselves with two Senshin, two people with Senshin in, as he would then introduce someone being Mitarashi Anko and another one being a somewhat random Jonin, either Jonin or Anbu Kanonji female. Yeah, and he would somewhat state that Anko would be that Sakura would be going with Anko, and Naruto would be going with this unnamed somewhat shinobi. They would not, and a month would once again go by with with somewhat very good obviously effects, very good things for obviously both Naruto and Sakura. Sakura was truly now permanently no longer a fangirl, as Mitarashi had, Anko had truly made sure that Sakura's fangirlish side would never come back, and if it did, that she was more than happy to, reintroduce herself in a way. And somewhat for it wasn't the only thing obviously Anko did. Anko also somewhat showed, or at least, got Sakura some how to somewhat identify some poisons, and that they could obviously some encounter in the wild from some obviously wild animals, also kind of somewhat due to say Naruto could obviously with his own instincts could end up getting poisoned, so knowing at least some variants good antidotes was somewhat useful. Though for Naruto, the somewhat Jonin mainly, Shinobi had mainly somewhat helped Naruto realise the true potential of his somewhat of the somewhat sexy jutsu, and not gonna go into much detail what they went probably further in Naruto, but it was an interesting month for Naruto, to say the least, and quite the eye-opening, to say, for Naruto. Anyway, yeah, they would somewhat obviously return on the first of the third month. Yeah, no, it'd be what, that fourth month as Genin. Yeah. Yeah, and somewhat Tenzo would know that in a month's time, or 2 weeks, yeah, in around somewhat 2-ish weeks, that around 3 weeks, the Genin exams were here, would be held in Konoha, and, well, yeah, he had told, Hirzen that he was, well, no, anyway. They would somewhat arrive at the training ground 12, at their usual, somewhat 8 o'clock, some morning. Yeah. And, yeah. Though you'd somewhat, obviously, say morning to, 8:30 though, was their meeting time. Yeah, you'd somewhat say morning to Naruto and Sakura, as they'd say it back, and he'd somewhat ask them what they'd been up to, or what their senseis for the month, their temporary senseis for the month, had trained them in, and somewhat Naruto and Sakura would both somewhat be vague, and yeah, though he was somewhat understanding, they gave enough information that you obviously wouldn't somewhat pray more. And yeah, anyway, though, it would somewhat then state that you'd be somewhat testing them, like they've like what he did when they first, when he first met them, to see how far they've come along, and see if somewhat the temporary senseis and what he's done with them so far has helped them at all, or if it's just been wasting if they've just been wasting time. They'd nod as he'd call Sakura up to spar, as unlike before, where she'd only lasted a minute or two. She'd easily, 3 minutes would somewhat go by as she'd start panting, but this time, unlike before, she wouldn't be heavily panting. She was panting, and a minute and a half later, or a minute and 30 seconds later, so 4.5 minutes later, Tenzo would call it off, with Sakura's breathing starting to get more and more obviously heavier. Yeah, Sakura would somewhat just nod as he would state that obviously she'd made good, somewhat good improvement, and yeah, she'd somewhat thank him, and he'd then call Naruto up, as they would then start the somewhat spar with, and he'd somewhat obviously quickly realise that sparring that his previous spar was Naruto was attacking him a lot heavier. That obviously Naruto had gotten better with hand-to-hand combat, a lot better. It was still wildly unpredictable, but it was even more unpredictable. He was more faster, and it somewhat held slightly in his gut that he was slightly somewhat dangerous, which meant he was that Naruto. Naruto was starting to somewhat be a real somewhat threat even to him. Yeah, though Naruto would somewhat jump back and flip through the air, and just as he'd somewhat come around, Tenzo would go wide-eyes as Naruto would finish the hand signs for a jutsu. This jutsu being, as Naruto would somewhat shout out wind style wind bullet as a wind bullet would form in front of him before shooting out. Tenzo would jump away from, I was away, and as it would immediately ask Naruto, who somewhat taught him, it was, about it, he'd somewhat obviously think, could Naruto have learned it, then he'd face palm himself as he'd that the somewhat library, and more specifically the Genin section of the library, did have some elemental jutsus in there, more so weak ones like wind bullet, water bullet, some just low level, somewhat DC, D and C, somewhat rank elemental jutsus, not really that obviously somewhat possibly damaging, but more just annoying type jutsu. And anyway, though they would somewhat continue to spar up until obviously the spar would go into 10 minutes, when it would then call, somewhat obviously say it would then somewhat time to somewhat stop and to have a 5-minute rest, as he'd tell Naruto somewhat well done, and that he'd improved quite a lot, and he'd somewhat ask Naruto where he'd learnt the wind bullet and water bullet, as Naruto would also somewhat use that. Well, no, Naruto wouldn't be able to use the water bullet, more so because he was nowhere near a lake or a body of water. Naruto would state he'd somewhat had got both. Well, yeah, he could also do with water bullet, but because it was nowhere near a lake, he couldn't do it. But he'd learnt both wind and water bullet from the library, from the Genin section of the library, and that he'd somewhat practiced in his when he'd when his sensei, his temporary sensei was done for the day. Then so mid no doubt that, and 5 minutes later he would then have Naruto and Sakura spar with him. Would some obviously go against both of them to see how their teamwork would improve. After all, they'd been doing D ranks they'd only done a month of D ranks, and he was curious to see how a month of D ranks plus improvement in Sakura's somewhat mindset as a Kunoichi now was improved. And also Sakura's outfit did change. She was no longer in a bright red dress. She was now wearing somewhat she's still wearing red, but it'd be a somewhat dark, it'd be a not as bright, somewhat just red top, and somewhat greyish black some Ambu style trousers ish, though you guys can obviously think what she may look like, and give me ideas for what her outfit would be, though no dresses or skirts. Anyway, they would spars, and before I had stopped them at 3 minutes, they would somewhat obviously keep on going with, though Sakura was now, instead of being at the far back as support, she was around mid-range, instead of right at the back just throwing kunai. Should still mainly throw kunai, but would occasionally going somewhat either for a hit or that as well. And it somewhat obviously told him that the obviously sparring practice that they did also every day, and their morning routine was helping, was somewhat obviously helping them a lot. And yeah, after that, after 6 or so minutes, he'd after around 10 minutes, he'd tell them to stop, which they would. And he'd obviously, tell them what they, did good at and what they did bad at and how they could improve in that. And, from there he'd, it's obviously carry on training them for a while longer before dismissing some of them slightly earlier in the day. It was somewhat slightly normal, as they presumed that he was now thinking of what to train them in now. So he dismissed them earlier in the day as and so Sakura ended up leaving though Naruto would stay in the training ground as he wanted to try something. He'd been waiting a solid month now to try it, and once both his sensei and Sakura had gone, Naruto would somewhat remember what the white-haired man had done. He'd bite his thumb, go through a couple of hand signs, and would slam his hand on the ground, somewhat quietly saying, summoning jutsu, as there'd be a puff of smoke that would erupt around Naruto, and the next thing Naruto would know once the smoke was cleared was he wasn't in training ground 12 no more, as he would somewhat look around confused, as he'd wonder whether enough was he. And he would somewhat look around, and he could hear like footsteps or something, as he'd turn around, as somewhat staring back at him was a cat, or humanoid cat. It was like he was somewhat not exactly looking at a mirror, but they looked or at least though from what he could see, that person or cat had two cat ears, and they just looked similar, two cat ears, cat tail, feline-esque eyes, and the as then somewhat speaking go, did you by any chance go through, as the said unknown creature animal cat thing would go through some hand signs, as Naruto would somewhat nod and state that he'd also bit his thumb and said summoning jutsu, as leaving just somewhat nod and then somewhat goes, so you're human, as Naruto would somewhat nod, as he'd ask who the person he was talking to and why he was the person in state, would call them so the things that person would answer Naruto's second question first, saying that Naruto was in the world of the cats, or the land of the cats, or in other words, the cat / Neko summoning world, as Naruto would ask how come she'd got, they did everything right, and he'd state that the person that done it had, made a frog appear, or what looked like a frog, though maybe a toad, and though she just somewhat, though the person would look at Naruto, and Naruto would go, "Oh, you wasn't done, was you?" As the person would shake her head, as you'd then state that her name was Yuki, and that she was the somewhat leaderish, well, not really somewhat leader, but at least the main person that Naruto would have to obviously somewhat talk to possibly obviously getting the allowance and contract to summon the cats / Neko, or just Nekos. Naruto would ask what a Neko somewhat is, and should point at Naruto and would state, well, what we are, or I am, or she just somewhat scratch her head. Just, I've never met a human that had cat ears and that looked like us. I know that is a clan of dogs. Should think in the human mode. Naruto would go, you mean the the Inazuka clan? As you go, yes, that's it. The people that have somewhat canine like traits, or dog like traits. And she'd use that this thus must mean that Naruto had a bloodline, that obviously meant that he was a bloodline that would, obviously caused this, which should mean that bloodline was probably called something like cat or feline or Neko or that. And though somewhat just state that he didn't really have a name for his bloodline, though it was labelled as a bloodline. And should ask if he could hide his ears and tail, which Naruto would check that he couldn't. I know somewhat permanently out, though he could use the transformation jutsu to hide them, and he could thus transform himself into an actual human, but he can somewhat morph himself in a way. He can obviously morph himself into looking just like a human. No person, the feline would just nod. Neko would just nod. Yuki would just nod and would ask if, say, Naruto could thus transform into a actual cat, or could transform / morph parts of his body, which Naruto would nod, then would nod and would ask how, did she know that he could? She'd somewhat just chuckle slightly, though would state that she didn't know and was asking, and they'd possibly presumed a bloodline of obviously a trait to give you ears and a feline ears and tail would at least be able to, if it could do that much, then it wasn't more far-fetched to be able to willingly turn your hands into paws and that. So she'd ask for obviously his name, and that would go, oh right, sorry, that bear, I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I should be somewhat surprised, as it had been a very long time since he had heard the last name since he had heard the name Uzumaki, and would ask how he was an Uzumaki, and Naruto would state that he was an Uzumaki from his mother, and that his mother had somewhat came from Uzugakure, which you should just nod, and Naruto would ask why obviously did she need to know that? And she'd say that, but it didn't, and that she just had known of the Uzumakis, and it had been a long time since she'd heard of them, and they'd thought they'd gone extinct, like there was none left. But clearly she was somewhat wrong, and Naruto would ask if that's how he'd presume there was more than obviously one. If there was toads or a frog and cats, then there had to be more. So he'd simply state what all summoning animals or summoning animals somewhat like, but presumed that, and he would, while she'd somewhat nod before she'd not, then she'd go, maybe, not really all that, tend to obviously somewhat, the more these work we tend to keep to ourselves more, as you probably know from your own instincts and that. Well, we can get along with other people, other animals or that, though we tend to prefer somewhat either being alone or around our own kind. Nato would just nod in understanding, as they'd talk for a bit more, as more so obviously Yuki was mainly doing this to obviously A, get to know Naruto, and B, to see if he was like a nice enough and good, obviously enough person to maybe obviously give Naruto the summoning contract to, because after all, the true boss of the summoning contract was none other than Matatabi, the two-tailed cat. And she could swear that she felt, Matatabi, well, not exactly Matatabi's, but definitely tailed beast struck within Naruto, so she'd somewhat begrudgingly asked if Naruto, she'd somewhat ask if Naruto was a Jinchuriki, and Naruto would somewhat clam up and would ask why she was somewhat asking, and she'd somewhat realised that it was somewhat looked like a sensitive topic, so she'd quickly state that she could feel to be struck within him, and that she didn't obviously care, it didn't really matter to her, but she just wanted to know if it was in fact a Jinchuriki. Naruto would begrudgingly somewhat nod and would state that he was the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox. As dude somewhat just somewhat nod and go somewhat just nod understanding, and they would obviously after that continued somewhat to talk, though Naruto would obviously asked why she'd asked that, and besides them obviously ask besides them obviously like how come she obviously asked that question, how did she know what beast chakra felt like, and she'd state that obviously while she was somewhat the kind of just current boss leader or that right now, and that the true boss or leader was in fact the Two Tails Matatabi, being obviously a giant flaming ball or a giant fire, a giant cat, two-tailed cat. And as should somewhat would obviously talk would somewhat tell Naruto a bit about somewhat Matatabi, and Naruto obviously hearing about that would wonder if obviously the nine-tailed also has a name, and though by the simple fact that two tails did, then obviously the one tails must have as well. That would mean obviously the 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and of course his one, 9 tails, all had somewhat names as you'd somewhat think on maybe you should ask the fox for his name. Maybe they could possibly, maybe somewhat become friends or something like that, or at least get to know each other and possibly maybe work as a team. He wasn't quite sure. Anyway, and yeah. Though, yeah, after talking, that Yuki would would somewhat bring that over to the somewhat to actually somewhat reward and would tell one of the other Neko to go fetch the summoning contract, and when the other Neko would ask who this Neko was, and she'd state that this wasn't a Neko and was in fact a human with a bloodline that just so happened to align up with their abilities. Though the said Neko would just somewhat just nod as once the other Neko had come back with the summoning contract, she'd hand it over to Yuki, who would then hand it over to Naruto, tell Naruto to somewhat open it, bite his, and then in the somewhat in a somewhat box to bite his thumb, so it would bleed, and then write his name in blood, and then dip it all four fingers on the somewhat blood from his thumb, and put his obviously fingerprints on it. Naruto would write his name down, and and obviously it'd somewhat glow, and Naruto should then tell Naruto that he was now a summoner of the. He was a summoner of the Cat Clan, and that, and should obviously state that if he ever somebody needed either help in anything or just needed a somewhat or just needed obviously some either company or that they were always here to help in anything, be it small or big. And that would someone just nod as he'd then ask how he'd get back to Konoha. Just go, right, I forgot to ask you where you'd come from though. So you're from the village in the leaf switch. Naruto would nod, and she'd somewhat just nod as she'd go, well, just somewhat just do these hand signs as Naruto go, yes, these are different. These hand signs are these specific hand signs are what's called the reverse summoning. Meaning that if you're in the human world, it brings you here, and if you're here, it takes you back to where you dispelled from. Naruto, either that or more so just where you obviously want to somewhat go when you're here, when you do these hand signs. Think of where you want to reappear. So, but make sure it's somewhat obviously it has a a good amount of space. Naruto would nod as he just picture his training ground 12 as he'd nod, he'd somewhat say goodbye, and he'd though he'd somewhat tell them that he'd try and summon one of them after, which Yuki would just nod. Naruto would then do the hand signs, dispelling a cloud, would disappear in a cloud of smoke once the cloud of smoke disappeared. Naruto would of course reappear back in Konoha in Training Ground 12, a meter or two away from where he had disappeared from. And from then Naruto would obviously somewhat would bite his thumb and would go through the hand signs and would slam his hand on the ground, saying, not shouting out, but would just say summoning jutsu, as that would be a path. That would be a that'd be a somewhat that'd be a somewhat path smoke, as that would just be somewhat a cat, as the cat would simply just somewhat look at Naruto, as Naruto would immediately bite his hand again, run through the hand sign, and would slam his hand down again, this time, putting in at least half of his reserves, and naturally knew he was standing on, naturally knew he was, somewhat standing on a, he was standing face to face to a Neko, as but once obviously the smoke would disappear, somewhat Yuki just blinking, I see you're able to, and Naruto, kind of, I need a bit of training in it, as it's like, what do you mean, as Naruto would somewhat point down, I should go, that's where that one ran off to. So Naruto would just rub the back of his somewhat neck and would somewhat laugh nervously and would state sorry. I should just shake her head and say, I'm just nothing to worry about. Yeah, and that now obviously that Naruto, or at least had an idea for how much chakra to use, he'd be able to now somewhat summon her without accidentally summoning another different one, and that should state that that anytime he'd somewhat summon her, that she could, or at least somewhat help Naruto in getting a better idea for his, or at least how much chakra to send into it to something different, the different felines. Naruto would nod, and with that, guys, with that, and she'd somewhat, and then obviously, somewhat return back home, and Naruto would, we'd somewhat head out to go to Ichiraku Ramen, as he was too happy. He was somewhat just excited. He now had a summoning contract, and that was to the cat / Neko clan. And they seemed pretty friendly in that, and though with that, guys, I'm gonna end this part here, so sorry for somewhat being shorter than what I generally do, but I hope you guys have enjoyed this part, and obviously guys, tell me in the comments down below if you want obviously part 5, and guys, don't forget, stay safe, have a good day or night, depending on wherever you are and whenever you watch this, and guys, good bye. Good bye.